So, hi guys, I'm Jan, and I'm today here with the famous Chase Reeves from Think Traffic and Fizzle.
Famous. I don't know about famous.
Yeah, Chase is some kind of idol to me because I really love his videos, what he's doing, and I'm a member of Fizzle, and I really love the stuff he's teaching there. And I'm really happy to have you on my show, Chase. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. This is my first international interview, so I feel like this is a big deal to me. So I got up early, I combed my hair, I put on my hat, and so I'm ready to. I don't know how this works. I don't know how German podcasts work, but I'm thrilled about being here.
That's awesome. So, you call yourself a designer, you call yourself an educator, you're doing lots of different stuff. Could you tell us a bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah. You mentioned Think Traffic and Fizzle. Those are the two things that, and mostly Fizzle at this point is my day in, day out. That's what I do for a living. And that's where we're training people who want to start their own businesses. We're still trying to figure out exactly how to do it best, but we've gone a long way from where we were. Corbett, my business partner, has worked with entrepreneurs in all walks of life for quite a while. And I've kind of always been bashing my own head against the entrepreneurial wall and bludgeoning myself and also like figuring a lot out about myself. I love that journey. It's
Mm,
so scary to start up your own business. It's also exciting. You're isolated. There's like you like think you can do it all, but then at the same time you're like you don't think you can do it all, and you kind of flip-flop between all of these emotions. So I really love that journey. That to me is like I've discovered so much about myself, about what I care about. I'm just really grateful for the process. And so what we do is we help people through that as well. Hopefully doing it without bludgeoning themselves on their own mistakes the way that I and so many others have.
that's awesome. I really can tell that you're doing a great job on Fizzle.
Thanks, man.
What I'd like to do today is to go through some kind of case study. I'd like to know how you would build your internet business when you would start just right today, with no following, no one, nobody knows you, just you and your knowledge that you have. What would you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a hard question because so much of this stuff just develops naturally, step after step after step. You just kind of figure things out as you go. And I always encourage people to start where they have some sort of an obsession, some sort of a passion. The word passion is kind of hard to understand really what it means when we say it, because it's also like romantic love, it's all this other stuff. And it's really easy to be chintzy with that word. So I kind of veer more towards find something like find something you really care about.
Mm,
Whether it's a problem in the world, maybe it's racism, maybe it's people going hungry, maybe it's not enough people know about the Star Wars movies. Maybe it's whatever, right?
yeah.
You find something you really care about. There's this magical mix between it's three parts. Something you care about or are personally interested in,
Mm,
something you're good at, and something the world finds valuable.
yeah.
So these three things kind of have to be true in order to make a business out of it. If you want to make a badass hobby out of this, you can just do that with one of those things and then get better over time and all that other stuff. But, you know, if we're talking to people who want to, support themselves doing this, then it really it's a challenge. But here's where I'd go. Okay. I started a site a while ago called Father Apprentice, and I'd probably, if I was just like a regular Joe Blow guy, I mean, obviously, if I was doing it all over again, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing now. So I'm trying not to give you that answer,
Yeah.
right? Because I really like this entrepreneurial journey, educating entrepreneurs, walking with them on that stuff. But if I was doing a different thing and kind of starting all over, I started up Father Apprentice because I knew how to make websites and I was having a really hard time being a dad. And so let's say I'm doing that mode. I kind of want to answer it like what I would do differently if I was starting that up again.
Yeah.
What I really would do is I would I would focus on new dads who also work and want to have a good life family balance.
Mm,
So a work family balance. That's one of the things that I've discovered most people have a really hard time with. Of course, I've only discovered that through starting up Father Apprentice. Every time someone signs up on the email list, I send them a personal email saying, and I'm literally just write them the email saying like, "Hey, thanks for signing up. Well, I'm wondering what's one thing you're struggling with right now as a dad? Then, 80, 90% of the answers are always like, how do I balance work and family
Yeah.
stuff? So through that work, I real through, launching the site, doing a bunch of stuff, then I realized, okay, this is where the real thing is. What's important about that is getting specific about the problem and the audience. A lot of people, like, we know we need to have an avatar, we need to this, that, and the other, and inside the Fizzle forums a lot. I have a course called Defining Your Audience, which is I think is really good.
Yeah, it is.
And still, though, people when they're in their forums, when they start talking about like, okay, here's what I've defined my audience as. What do you think? A lot of the times they get into all these details, which are good, but they don't really detail the problem. They're like, they shop at Abercrombie and Fitch, and they wake up at 9:30 in the morning, but they're really sad about it, and all these things are cool. Like it's like, adding a little color. But you haven't mentioned what problem you're going to solve yet, what the pain is, what the desire of these people is, what if you can couch it in that language, that's when you start to actually have business solutions come to mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or solutions come to mind that then you can say, this is valuable. Is it how valuable is it to you? So, and actually, I'm not sure, Jen, if you've done the design course yet. Did you do that one?
I started it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna like this because the second to last video is just me ranting. I was like, listen, I just wanted to record this and I just rant, and I ranted on exactly this question: what I would do if I would start all over again. Specifically around like the design of a site and like the kinds of things that were on the site and what product would be made when and this, that, and the other. And it was all about this Father Apprentice thing. So that's why I kind of naturally fall into that groove. But and so anyways, when you get there, you're gonna like it, and any listeners who are Fizzlers, because I think it's kind of funny because I just pressed record and went. But it is really what I would do. So there's two things. You can focus on a product first or building an audience first. And we kind of believe in build an audience as you're building a product. But you build the audience first, truly, but just barely first. You're doing them both at the same time. But that insight from the audience about like when I was sending the emails to the Father Apprentice signups, and then I started learning, okay, they really need to know about they really care and have a lot of emotional energy around work-life balance. So it wasn't through. I didn't have that insight. Until I heard it from them, and then I was in the place to do that. Now let's talk about why I was in the place to actually capitalize on that.
That would have been my next question. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just got out and I started writing really authentically, really raw, really in my own voice. My goal with Father Apprentice at the very start was kind of just to be funny. To be funny, to help guys be comfortable in their own skin who are also having a hard time being dads. Also, just for me to go through the discipline of writing about being a dad. It would hopefully make me take it a little more seriously, be a little more intentional, etc. So because of that, frankly, I'm a good writer. I'm a decent writer. Like, I can make funny things happen in characters or in video or whatever. And so that started to work, and I gained this little audience for enough for them to sign up and say, like, I'm interested in this. So if I was going to do that all over again, I would have a little bit more. I don't know. I would totally just write for. My wife's trying to start a blog right now, and she's like trying to be all strategic about blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no. You just write, just write for the next 6 months. And if you miss you write every day for 6 months. And if you miss a day, we're gonna turn the juice up, and you got to go 6 months more or whatever, just to get into the motion of writing and to know what it's like to actually to do the production of a blog post, of running a blog. Because it's not just about, like, I have this thought, and then it's like, okay, great, now 10 thoughts from now, what thought are you going to have then? And what's it going to be like when you're like, you realize it's just a job to make this stuff and to ship it. You thought it was some miraculous, passionate thing, but it's still everything. The most passionate stuff eventually becomes a job. And the question is, what makes that work worth doing for you? So I would totally just plan on writing a bunch, getting used to writing, seeing what resonates with people, seeing what resonates with me, what feels comfortable in my own skin. And I would totally write those first 2 years off of just exploring, getting to know people in that space, like going to conferences and, going to one or two conferences a year and actually meeting people online, becoming friends with them. I would spend like 2 years just writing, finding out more about my audience through the writing and through the questions on email, and then networking with people in that space, other dad bloggers or other, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then right around 2 year point, that's where I'd probably say, okay, I'm going to make my first, whatever, $9 thing to sell, which is either a compendium of all the blog posts I've written, edited, and put together, or some sort of, I would probably make some product around that specific problem of work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know. What are you hearing over there, Jan?
Um, I'm hearing that you don't really believe in this get rich overnight myth from
No, I
blogging
no,
and
I
from,
well, I mean, people do it, right?
yeah,
I just don't want to be that kind of guy, and that's not my style.
yeah,
I would feel really uncomfortable with that. And frankly, I want to build a business that supports me for a long time.
yeah,
Not one that like I have to just go rape my audience right now and then figure out who I'm going to go rape next month or something. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I really believe in this long-term business thing online, that it can happen, that in 5, 10 years, I am the world's foremost leading scholar on bad dads. You know what I mean? Who want
Yeah.
to be better. I
Mhm.
love that story, right?
Yeah, that's cool. So, you mentioned three aspects. You mentioned being good at something, being passionate about something, or having an obsession about something, and finding something the world needs,
Yeah.
solving a problem.
Yeah.
What if I can't make all those three steps to a yes? What if I just start with something I'm passionate about, and I can figure out that I have an audience and that the audience is growing? How do I turn that into a business?
Totally. It's a great example, because it's a great question, because in this example, I really did just start with
Mm,
what I was interested in. And the hunch was other people would be interested in as well, right? That
yeah.
there's something about an artist entrepreneur who kind of assumes that a lot of the times. We hear a lot of people saying, make something that solves your problem, and then it'll end up solving other people who have the same problem. Like Jason Fried of 37 Signals says this a lot, Ramit Sethi, Tim Ferriss. And it's true. I mean, most with Father Apprentice, I was scratching my own itch,
Mm,
basically,
yeah.
and that came back to me, and people like resonated with it, and partly because I wasn't just going. I have this challenge online right now where we're kind of rewarded for speaking at the lowest common denominator.
Mm,
Everything's about how many shares or this, that, and the other. And in order to get the most shares, you got to have a sensational headline and some like 10 wacky things cats do with their buttholes. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, it's some dumb crap, right? The
Mm,
biggest websites in the world, like BuzzFeed, it's just crap. And
yeah.
it's entertaining crap. And we're sort of encouraged to do the same things. If you've experimented with it, the more sensational, crazy you get, in your thing, the more it'll get shared. The more people will come to you, and then you're like, okay, I'm growing my audience, but I'm growing it full of douchebags or whatever. You got to have that question of yourself, like, what's my what am I doing here? Is
Yeah.
this actually making something valuable, or is it just more noise in the world? And so for me, I was always kind of sensitive to that. I really wanted to make something good. I really wanted a dad to read this and be like, oh, yeah, like just to, feel more comfortable in his own skin for just a little bit,
Mm,
in a way that's like, look at this guy. He's going after it. I'm going to go after it too. This is okay. Um, so I started there. And this is something I don't know if everybody has, Jan. Like, it's hard. It's a hard thing to know, because there is a lot of, like, I know a lot of smart guys who were very spreadsheet about how they went at their business, and they have really successful businesses, right? That's so alien to me. I'm so much more of like a fly by the seat of my pants sort of. No, no, no. All the spreadsheet, every single cell and table and row on the spreadsheet says, no, this is not going to be a business. People are not going to like this. And I'm like, dude, they will. They will come out of the woodworks. We're going to go find them. And so that's just, if I'm like into it that much. I'm the guy
mm,
who finds a band that I'm so into that like everyone in my life is like, this music sucks, Chase. It's not good music. And I'm like, no, it's the best. Like, I'll defend it. I love it. I go
yeah.
all in on the things that I care about, with a little bit of disregard, not complete disregard, because chances are I found out about that band from somebody else I admire or whatever, right? But a little disregard for what all the spreadsheets and the right answers and the people around me are kind of saying. You know, so sometimes you've got to fight through these quote unquote needs for right answers because you just believe in the thing. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of stories about that. So I'd say to your answer, if you the goal is to have something you care about, you're good at, and the world finds valuable, and you only have the first one, something you care about, you're already further along than other people. Spend a year blogging on that. See what it's like to build an audience, even if it's a small audience. And you can as you break that seal, you're kind of like, okay, I get it now. And then you're either hearing from that audience or watching another audience as you're building this and realizing, okay, there's something going on. I could talk about that stuff. I could be discovering that, and et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of weird. It's the Wild West, and at the same time, it's just like really all any of us are in the business of is education and training in some
Mm-hmm.
ways. You know,
Yeah.
some people say that we're in publishing, and I think we're it's publishing what we do, but at the same time, it's like the money that comes, unless you're just all ad supported or affiliate supported or whatever, you're making all your money that way. Like I really like making products, and I even hate that word the way we use it because it's like become a douchey thing. But product is simply making something that you can sell. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of making something that the people in my audience want enough to pay for. You know, that's the whole goal for me with a business is this. I want to make something so good that they want to buy it.
How do I get them to buy my products? Do I need to build a brand around myself? You know, everybody talks about personal branding today.
Yeah.
Do I need that personal brand, or is it just an overhyped buzz thing?
Well, it depends. You know, some people do it differently. Like one of the things that we don't see right now, but I could totally picture is more of a co-op of bloggers. Like if it was you and like 5 or 6 other bloggers, male and female, kind of young, getting after it, exploring what it means to do that. You know, so many, you know, live your passionate lifestyle business blogs out there, right? So many
Mm-hmm.
like do yoga on the beach while you while you cash in on some, you know, vitamin supplement drop shipping sales thing or whatever. And I see there's space for teamwork, or more of a co-op thing, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to go out and do a Lone Ranger thing, right? So what does a personal brand look like there, where everybody's working together to make something that's bigger than any individual,
Yeah.
right? So that's an important thing that might just say maybe not personal branding, but a brand is important. Brand is simply when I land on your site, like who are you? What do you stand for? And how are you going to serve me? Because my mom's dying of cancer. Because I have these personal problems. Because I'm going through the fight of my life, and I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in what you can do for me. Because frankly, I need another friend. Like I don't know. Like I need someone else to. I don't know. I could get graphic with the. No, I normally get graphic at that point, so I'm trying not to. But like when people land on the site, they have their needs. They have their life. They're not looking for another friend. They are kind of rooting for you. Every time someone lands on a website, they're like, they secretly want this to be the solution to everything. You know, I heard
Otherwise,
this
they
from
wouldn't open it.
right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
but they're also 98% of them is going like it's just going to be another piece of crap website. It's just going to be more crap, more noise, more hey, sign up for my email list, more, you know, all this other stuff. Just
Mm-hmm.
someone that wants something from me.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's this little bit of scrappiness, I think, that's developed online where it's like I can go on this site, I can kind of root and peck through it and get what I need to out of it without being, you know, scraped up by all the people who are trying to take advantage of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that we've done in Fizzle is we've created a brand, quote unquote. But what that means is we ourselves are this thing. You know, we're just going exactly against that. We're saying, no, you pay us money up front. We're going to educate you on this, that, and the other. And in our way of doing it, trying to be very zero bullshit, trying to be very human about the whole thing, instead of making all these crazy promises, instead of, I don't know, all the crap that just tires me out online. But when you say brand, getting back to the question on brand and that kind of stuff, I think brand is insanely important. And brand, though, I don't really know how to define it, really. It's the feel I get when I get to your site, and it's whether or not I sense that you're putting your ass on the line or not. Meaning, Like there's some real authentic human on the other side of this internet, this computer monitor, who's like going after something, and I want what he's going after too. That's what a brand is. So it's not a logo, it's not a color scheme, it's whether or not you can create that experience, that emotional response within me. And so whether that's based on your name as a personal brand or on whatever, but the brand really comes together as someone follows you over a year and they see what you really stand for in that year. That I think is more of what brand is becoming, what personal brand sort of means, because it's easy to throw up an about.me page or whatever and be like, oh, look at my picture and look at my qualifications and all of that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of an easy thing to do. And I was just having dinner last night met some new guys, and they had all these amazing, exciting, and sexy things to say about their accelerator that they're starting and about this, that, and the other. And apparently nothing's ever going to go wrong for them because nothing's ever gone wrong for them. And it's like, they're like, I don't know why it's so easy for people to raise money. It's been so easy for us. And I'm just kind of like, all right, well, call me in 2 years and tell me if, the other shoe hasn't dropped or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And he's probably going to be fine. Right.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, that's not a life-giving conversation to me, the way that hearing about my friend who's all in on something they care about is struggling just to get through the stuff. And we're in the pit with them, clawing out of it because we're making something interesting and valuable in the world that she just really cared about. Like, this guy felt like he cared about the details of the money, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But it's a tiresome conversation to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying that a brand just develops more or less naturally over time, just when you get yourself out there and when you start blogging and just putting your personality into play and just writing human as you are and not faking anything.
That to me is that's what happens for me. Those things happen naturally. Now there are intentional. I never write down like, what's the brand of Father Apprentice, and it's always just, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. You get, like, I cut my veins and I bleed out on the page, and that's what you get. But as a designer, I'm kind of like, how do I graphically convey that?
Yeah.
So that's where the intentionality comes up. So it's like, kind of, I learn as I write. Okay, I'm kind of like this, and then as a designer, I come in and I say, like, okay, you're kind of like this, but I want to kind of tweak it this way and make it really feel a little more rustic. So you're a little less, Jewish, narcissistic, and whatever, just crazy, neurotic, right? And a little more rustic American man, right? So I make that little tweak, and then that might inform some of the writing, or chances are it doesn't. But then over time it tweaks, and you learn a little bit more on where to angle yourself, and the brand solidifies and solidifies and solidifies, and it gets more and more compact, more potent, which means it's getting simpler. And there's this awesome quote, simplicity on this side of complexity, I wouldn't give a fig for. But simplicity on the other side of complexity, I'd give my right arm for. I think it was Sir Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. who said that. But I love that, because every time I've designed a site or created a brand or whatever, it's been a ton of crazy complexity. How do we make sense of this and that and the other? How do we do this, all this other stuff, with the goal of really getting to a very simple expression on the other side. I did redesign Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income, which it's not out yet, but that was really, that was one of the most challenging redesigns for me.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Not just because Smart Passive Income right now, I approached Pat a long time ago. I was like, dude, your site's ugly. I do not like this. This is gross. And he's like, what? People really like it. And I'm like, this is disgusting. And so it would have been easy to put together. The thing that was hard was, who is Pat? Pat, besides, he has all these huge followers, right? He has a bunch of people that just really love him. But really, who is he really? He's really authentic and honest, and he's really upfront and transparent about everything, and he's doing all this work. But how do we? You don't make a brand with those words. Every brand in the world tries to be those words. So we still haven't found it yet. So it was really difficult to do this work of discovering, who is he? How do we communicate that, and what's really going on, and how do we differentiate it so it feels fresh? I think we ended up doing it. I don't know. You'll be the judge, Jan. Judge Jan.
That's cool. I can't wait to see the new design.
Yeah.
So, we're talking a lot about custom designs for blogs right now, but especially when it comes to people just starting out in the blogging scene, they don't have the money or they don't want to pay the money for custom designs.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips how they can establish a brand with a pre-designed template like Genesis or Thesis or whatever they choose?
Yeah. Yeah. Focus less on the graphics of the theme and more on the text. Like
Okay,
let your voice be the thing. Start there. Black on white with, a catchy tagline. You
like
know,
Zen habits.
Yeah, like a Zen habits and also I've been starting to I'm just playing around with Squarespace for the first time as I'm making this site for my wife. And mostly I'm not even I haven't really got into it that much yet. It's kind of confusing when I'm used to just working in code and WordPress and all this other stuff. But Squarespace is pretty amazing
Hmm.
because it's like drag and drop, move things around, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. You've got
Yeah,
like 25 amazing, beautiful pre-built themes that are all very customizable and responsive and all this other stuff. And so I always recommend that to people because it's like get it up and ship it.
yeah.
Just start writing, put the stuff out there. In 2 months, go back, maybe edit it. Ooh, excuse me, I'm getting a little hiccupy from my water, but I love that about Squarespace. Just get it out.
Hmm.
Don't care so much. Everybody does think I need to differentiate on my design, and eventually you will. Eventually you can. It'll be great. Everybody will be excited for you. But right now, that's not what the important thing is.
Hmm.
Right now, the important thing is not to have an LLC or find a lawyer or, start networking with people. No, go do the work. Go figure out who you are when you write. Go
Yeah.
figure out who you are when you try to solve someone else's problem. Go figure out who you're writing for. Go do the work,
Hmm.
and then eventually, when you make some money, hire a really good designer because you can make this as good as you see it, or you can make it as good as someone who's very, very competent and like trained in this stuff
Yeah.
sees it, and
Yeah.
that's where you want to be. You want to be in a place where you don't have to fiddle with all the crap, where you're pro about this is what I always wanted from me. Like I wanted to not fiddle with the design. I wanted to work my butt off like anybody else would who couldn't do the design stuff. And then when I needed to make a design change or something like that, a feature change, it had to be important enough for me to pay someone to do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
That would keep me on track so much more. And now I am glad I learned how to code and I learned how to design and I learned how to do all this stuff. And frankly, those things aren't going away anytime soon. Well, they kind of are. I think Squarespace is kind of getting those away, and all the themes are. But the it is kind of nice to know how to do. Being able
Hmm.
to code, being able to do that kind of stuff is. I mean, if you want to spend 3 years just kind of geeking around on it, or 6 months or whatever, you're going to learn a lot, and it'll probably stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that get to your question?
Yeah, that answers the question. When I summarize it, it's just about getting yourself out there and giving not too much attention to the design in the beginning,
Yeah, it's just
especially.
it's a mistake we see all the time. People,
Mm,
and don't get me wrong, like design is great, but if you try differentiating on design alone, if you have really beautiful empty shell of a website, that's
yeah,
backwards. You should
yeah,
you fill up the shell first, then make it pretty,
yeah,
because that's what will pay dividends down the line. What keeps people around will be who you are as a person, how you are as a writer, as a video maker, or whatever it is. Or maybe you're not doing a blog. Maybe you're just making products and stuff like that. So make the product, and then like just meet people on the street and try to sell it to them. You know what I mean?
mm,
Then get up to a website, and like
yeah,
all of these. I read some interview at some point talking about all these amazing now super sexy tech startups, but when they started, each of the founders was like pounding the pavement. Nothing scaled about their sales stuff, right? It was one guy just like trying so hard to get, and they were just fighting passionately for the thing. That's what a founder needs to be.
yeah,
You need to believe so much in your thing that you fight for it. You go for it.
yeah. That's pretty cool. So let's assume we got our blog up and running, and we blogged for a year or two, and we built an audience, and our brand has developed over time. How do I make my first dollar with that
Great question.
theme?
I don't know. You gotta tell me. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure that one out. Well, Frank, like we said before, you make something people want enough to pay for it, and
Mm?
I love the idea of having a $1. I always encourage people to do just, hey, put a PayPal button on your website. When you get the notification that they've paid money on the thing, that's when you send them a PDF and an email, a personal email, or whatever. So you make something that they want, and that could be anything from a poem to a massive book, to a very small book, a manifesto, a handbook. Could be a poster that you hand paint and get. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
sky is the limit. The question is, what problem are you really solving? What are they willing to pay for? And even if it is just your mom, selling it to your mom or your grandma or your aunt or something like that, that's still a victory. And once you break the seal of the technology of receiving a payment online, because in some ways that's a hard thing, and we have some stuff on that in the Fizzle as well. Just because that's a you do need to do that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to put the button on or use Gumroad or something like that. But once you do that, chances are, if you're all in as an entrepreneur in your audience, like you'll be like, okay, I know what this is like now. This is what I want to do differently. I want to take this thing and I want to do it much bigger, or I want to do another similar small thing over here, and I want to have these two products that I'm selling and see which one sells more. And then
Mm?
I'll after 3 months of that, I'll make one of them much bigger and more in depth because I've wanted to forever or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's where things get exciting. But really, it's a hard question to answer. For me, I would totally in Father Apprentice, it would be, there's a product I've wanted to make for forever, but I just never gotten around to it. Around asking a lot of people that I admire that are high profile sort of tech people who have families, how do you balance work and family? So it's just
Mm?
like interviewing them and then distilling that into a book and selling that for $29 or something like that, with the audio interviews, mostly because I just want to interview these people that I'm huge fans of. So, but the point being, yeah, that would totally be a viable thing. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
have to be the expert in this thing and go do all the research. I can be the one who curates the real life experience of other people, and I don't know. That's liberating to me. That feels like a very nice kind of small way of doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me 1 second. I just need to put my power supply on.
Yep.
Otherwise, the call is ended in a few minutes.
Got it.
I'm sorry, I just forgot it.
Yeah, no problem. Looks like we've got the same Audio Technicas,
Yeah.
MTH A50s or whatever these are.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
I really love those.
yeah, they're good.
Okay. So let's wrap it up then. Do you have one advice that my audience can take in the next 24 hours to improve their business or get started?
To improve your business or get started.
May
The one
maybe
thing,
one for each.
well, I guess I got one for both.
Okay.
The one thing that's been really impactful for me, there's a guy called Brad Feld who works with a lot of entrepreneurs. He does a lot of investment and has been an entrepreneur himself. And he says an entrepreneur needs to look at his life in terms of a long-term view of many short cycles. So
Uh-huh.
like I mentioned before, like in 10 years, I want to be the guy at the top of the bad dads who want to be good pile. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
That long-term view, and not holding myself to, like, because the pervasive narrative out there is start up a blog, throw on some AdWords, get a bunch of money, then do whatever you want. When
Mm.
really most blogs fail, within 60 to 90 days, and like the founder just gets to the point where it's like, nobody's really paying attention. I don't really like doing this. This is hard work. I'm gonna go back to my
Yeah.
job now, and become a real human. But I like this idea of the long-term view has become hugely important to me because it pulls that pressure off of results right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it puts me more in the mode of, who do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? What is important about this? I'm less likely to take advantage of someone's weakness or rape my audience now because I want to serve these people for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And that just makes me have different kinds of thoughts. So
Yeah.
whether I'm thinking of just starting something up or I'm trying to improve my business, if you say, where do I want to be in 10 years, in 15 or 20 years? And then where do I want to, then, so maybe like this next cycle is 3 years long, all right? Or maybe just 2 years long. So what needs to happen if I reverse engineer from 10 years ahead of now?
Mm.
That's where I want to be. What needs to happen between here, and here? And it's all kind of speculation, but it's nice to go through the exam, through
Yeah.
the work of it, and then say, okay, so what does this 6 months need? In this next 6 months, what's this sprint look like? Um, it might only mean writing 2 great blog posts. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Or one great thing. And then holding yourself to that realistic standard instead of I'm never writing enough. I need to write more. I need to do more. I need to make this thing. I need to get the product out. I need to, this sense of chicken with his head cut off,
Yeah.
running around like a crazy person without the intentionality, without the vision of a longer term thing. And when
Yeah.
I heard that, that just blew me away because I had never heard anything like it before. I never, and it, well, it just, I was really ready to hear something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I needed that because I was running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Me too
So
in the beginning.
that's my big piece of advice.
Yeah, that is awesome advice because
Mm.
you're hitting several nails right on the head. You're not just putting the pressure of yourself getting results quickly. You're also helping to prioritize tasks to really get focused just on the important things. It's an
Yeah.
awesome advice, the best I've heard so far.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
winner, chicken dinner.
yeah, it really is.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much, Reese, Chase, for taking your time.
All right, man. Thank you. I like talking to you.